Hi, I'm Tom Hess, and I'm glad that you've come here to check out this video as you were searching for music teacher workshops. Now, most music teachers are looking for two things when they're seeking out workshops. The first is to increase their overall music teaching skills so that they have a greater impact on their students. Their students get so much more benefit and value out of the lessons that you're doing with you, and then also that you feel more fulfilled during that entire teaching process. And then the second set of things that teachers are generally looking for are things to build their teaching career, things to build their income, to build their teaching business. And the mistake that most teachers make is that they only focus on one or the other. And here's why that's a mistake. Even if you're one of those teachers who doesn't claim to really care that much about the money, you should. And here's why you should. When you focus just on the music teaching skills only, and you don't think about earning more money or doing innovative things on the business side, you actually restrict the number of things that you can do to add more value to the student's experience with you. So let me give you a quick example of that. Imagine that what you do right now is just teaching one-on-one private lessons, as many music teachers do. And although that lesson teaching format is very, very effective for a lot of situations, if you are thinking more about making more money and teaching more people in group classes, then that's going to bring in a whole new set of value for your students that they're never going to get from you or any other music teacher doing one-on-one lessons only. And the problem with this whole issue is that music teachers who are used to doing the private one-on-one lessons tend to compare the pros and cons of one-on-one teaching with the pros and cons of teaching class or group lessons. And usually what most music teachers conclude, even though they may or may not have any experience teaching group classes, is that the private lessons are better. So what happens is music teachers stick to that format and that format only. But a much more lucrative teaching model for you and a much more beneficial learning environment for your students would be if you had a rotating format where you actually alternated between those two concepts, so that all of the good benefits that come from teaching people in groups, the sense of community, the sense of music students playing together, learning how to listen to each other, learning how to interact with other musicians, and all of the other benefits that go along with that, they would now have a real chance to experience those things that they're not going to get in private lessons. And of course, the same is true in reverse. There are some specific things which are probably best learned in private lessons and not in class. Now, where teachers usually stumble is in understanding how to implement a rotating model where 1 week or let's say 2 weeks they're doing their private one-on-one lessons with some students, and then the next week they're teaching those students in a group. And most teachers struggle with that. And then the other issue with groups is that the common question that I hear as I coach and mentor guitar teachers specifically, but it's true for piano teachers and others, the common issue that comes up is, well, how do you teach people in groups if they progress at different rates, if they're not all total beginners, if they're not all into different styles? And that's a challenge that most music teachers never get past. They never get coached or mentored on how to deal with that issue in a very powerful and effective way. So this video started off being about music teacher workshops because that's what you're probably here to find out more about. And what I'm going to suggest is that as you search for different workshops that exist, although there are not many of them around, ask yourself if what you're learning really encompasses both sides, the teaching skills and the business side, and also talks about things like integrating different formats into the teaching so it's not always the same model all the time. Now, I think probably what you really need and what you really want is to get some immediate clarification. And wouldn't it be best if that stuff was free? Well, I've got some free resources to give you some free clarification on where your personal strengths and weaknesses are as a music teacher, And then I've got some additional resources that are going to help you to get some clarity and some understanding on what's possible for you in terms of growing your teaching business, in terms of making more money, and what's possible for you to discover and learn new ways in which you could be more effective with the students that you already have, as well as bring in a bunch of new students that are eager to learn from you and be committed to that whole process. Come to my website at the link below, and I'm going to have some assessments there for you to take. This is all free, and once you fill out these assessments, I'm going to give you some very specific feedback on ways that you can implement some new ideas based upon each question and how you can do that right away. There are specific action steps, some specific tips that I can share with you for free through email once you fill out one or more of those self-assessments. In addition, I'm going to share with you a very, very special video that talks about what I mentioned earlier about teaching the private lessons or teaching the classes and how you can make the class thing work and integrate it with what you're already doing. That video is about 20 minutes long, so it won't fit on YouTube, as YouTube only accepts 10 minutes. So I can only give that to you on my website because it just won't fit on YouTube. So come to my site, the link below. Let me give you these free resources. Let me give you some feedback. And I think that you're going to find that you're going to have some very strong things that you can do right away to implement into your teaching business and your teaching career.